Hi, everybody. This is Kristen Belzer, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Connect with KB. It is so great to have you with us, where you're going to talk a little bit about business and education and leadership today, all the wonderful things that connect us to each other. My guest has made a career out of being a sports expert, researcher, promoter, and connector. He's interviewed those on the national scene and those who are still living their high school dreams. He is one of the best guys I know, and he has an exceptional gift. He is an incredible listener. I want to welcome to the podcast my very good friend, Jack Ebling. Jack, so great to have you here.
KB, I'm just glad to be connected.
Well, it has been a long time in the works, haven't you say? We've been a year out. We haven't seen each other in over a year.
Right.
And good
phone
to have
conversation last week.
Yeah, we had
just a full disclosure, right?
You bet. Absolutely. We've been chatting on the phone a little bit, you and I, and always trying to be supportive of each other and being supportive of people in our community. And I have always admired that about you, Jack, and the incredible gifts that you have. And I want you to start the podcast this morning with the Jack Ebling story. Tell me your story.
I don't want to kill your audience that early, but yeah. Let's see. I was first one in my family to go to college and did that on a partial theater scholarship. But I was always most interested in sports, and I realized I wasn't going to play for the Lions, Tigers, Pistons, or Red Wings. I said, what else can I do? And had a chance encounter with Ernie Harwell when I was 12 years old, and that shaped a lot of things. But I went to school, and I was very interested in politics, and I was very interested in lots of different things, and said I was going to be a coach. I wanted to be a Big Ten football coach, and taught and coached for 3 years in Lapeer. You know where that is?
I sure do.
Yeah. And my wife was applying for teaching jobs over at the Student Services Building on campus. We were living in Davison at the time. I came back, and it was Saturday morning, and I was just kind of keeping her company. And she looked up on the board, and she saw these part-time jobs, little 3x5 cards. And one of them said part-time sports writer. And she said, hey, you could do this. I said, I don't want to do that. Sports writer, a bunch of nerds. And she said, you know, just call and see. Just try. I don't want to do this, but you know how it is. When your spouse says something like that, you don't want to sleep in the garage, right? So I said, okay. It's Saturday morning. It's like 10:30 in the morning. I said, nobody's going to be there. It's going to be great. I'll call this number. I'm off the hook, right? So I call a guy named Ed Sinesco at the State Journal. Picks up the phone. And he says, sports. And I said, is Mr. Sinicchio here? He said, Sinesco. I said, oh, well, I'm just calling about this job. I saw a post. It's probably been filled, but he said, when can you be here? I said, I'm thinking like 3 weeks would be good, you know. And I said, when do you want me? He said, 20 minutes. Now, I had no idea where 120 East Lenawee was. I went to 120 West Lenawee, where the old YMCA was, right? I said, oh, crap. So now I'm jogging down Lenawee, right? And I get there, and he's at the side door waiting for me, where you turn in all the old bowling scores right in that box. We go upstairs, and he hands me a roster sheet. And the State Journal for like 50 years used the same form, actually. It shows how much they progressed. But he hands me this form that coach had filled out before the season. I think it was Williamston. And he said, write 3 paragraphs about what their season's going to be. So, typewriters, right? I put the paper in the typewriter, and I turn the carriage, and I'm sitting there, and I another letter. I'm hunting pack, and he says, we're a daily, not a monthly.
Oh, that's good.
Right? I look at him like, hey, buddy, I didn't want to be here, so don't give me any, you know. So I do this thing, and I think, of course, this is Pulitzer stuff, right? And I hand it to him. No, that's not what you do. He said, you got to start out with a name. He gets me his little journalism class, right, in 90 seconds. He hands me on the papers. Do it again. So I did it. I gave it to him. He said, now do that. Now don't do that. Do this. Do that. Gives me another one. Gives me another one. Gives me another one. I'm thinking, like, what the is going on here, right? So phone rings. He picks it up. Sports. Just kind of throws the phone at me. It's my wife. She thinks I've been abducted, right? So I said, yeah, no, I'm okay. No, I'm fine. I'll be home in about half hour. Okay. So I reach across to hang up the phone. You know, it's got one of those long spoolie cords, right? He says, you're going to work here. Don't ever have your wife call again. I said, work here? Hey, buddy, I didn't want to be here. What are you talking about? So he said, I want you to come in next Thursday. We're going to have a meeting, and then you'll learn what you have to do with this. So I show up, and I'm a little bit early, and I'm sitting around and in a big conference room over at the State Journal, 120 East Lenawee, and they just put out their football section, their preseason tab that they do every year, right? So I picked it up, and I said, I'm going to look at this and see what the pros did with what I did to compare it, right? So I turned it open, and it was Ingham County League. And I start realizing, God, that looks just, that is what I wrote. And what he had done was save money and had 3 stringers come in, take these tests, and use what they did in the paper. You have to pay a staffer to do this, right? So, you know, I just start hanging around there, and it was kind of interesting, but no big deal. I certainly intended to go back. Never thought I would do this, right? And one day he calls me in, and I'd stopped in at noon, actually, to pick up my paycheck. It was $15 a night. That's what we got.
Sure.
$15, right? It was beer money. So he said, Jackson, he always called me Jackson. Jackson, step into my office. He didn't have an office. He had one of those little third grader desks with the flip up arm that you'd sit in, right? And my knees are like hitting me in the ear. So I sit there, and he says, what are you doing Sunday? I said, I don't know. I got some buddies coming over. We're going to probably watch the Lions, maybe play a little touch football, drink a few beers. Why? He says, you're covering a karate meet. I said, I beg your pardon? You're covering a karate meet over at the IM West. I want you to write 15 inches on it. Find a good story, a good angle. Karate. I knew nothing about karate, right? I mean, this wasn't the internet. You couldn't go on and, learn something like this. I remember I stopped at Paramount News and picked up a karate magazine. So I go over this thing, and it's the hardest thing I've ever covered. I'd rather cover 12 Super Bowls than this Pee-wee karate tournament. Kids from all around the country there, and none of them have any names. You don't know who they are. You have no background. You don't know. You're looking for a guy who has like 3 arms, right? At this point. So I go home, and I had time to go home for dinner because we were an afternoon paper in those days. So it was all laid out in the morning. As long as you had the thing in by 8 o'clock in the morning, you were good. So it was Sunday evening, and I go back into the paper, right? And I'm sitting there, and I put the paper back in the typewriter. Only time in my life I can remember not knowing what to say, having writer's block. I must have sat there for 20 minutes. Finally, I said, you know what? This is probably the only time I'm ever going to have a newspaper article. So I'm going to have some fun with this, right? Why not? And so, for some reason, a thought came to my mind about the old Batman television show. You remember that with Adam West?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And they would have these bubbles, cartoon bubbles, of pow and zam, and, it would come onto the screen. I wrote those into the story. And somebody had a knockout or something like that. I put that in. And then I went home, and I said, that was probably the dumbest thing that's ever been done at the State Journal, but it was done. So the next morning, Robin's getting ready to go substitute teach, and it's about 7 o'clock, and the phone rings. And as you probably know, I'm not really a morning person anyway. Right?
I do know that.
Yeah. So she answers the phone, and she says, it's that crazy Ed guy. She hands me the phone. And I said, hello. And he said, can you be here at 10 o'clock? And I said, I suppose. Why? And he said, the publisher read your story. I said, oh. I'm in big trouble now. I got sued by somebody. This is it. This is going to be the shortest journalism career in history. So I walk in, and I'm in this conference room again. And managing editor is there, the publisher's there, and sports editor. And I said, I've really screwed this up. I probably need I need legal help with this thing. And publisher says, why did you do that? And I said, I'm sorry. I was just trying to have a little fun. I thought it might be entertaining. He said, that's exactly what we've been looking for at this paper. So we need people who can think outside the box. I'm thinking like, geez, here I go again, right? He says, what are you doing Sunday? I didn't have the guys. We're going to probably get together, play some touch football and watch the Lions and have a few beers. And he reaches down underneath the desk and he throws me this big packet of credentials. He says, you're covering the Lions. So I saw the Lions, but
by yourself.
I saw them from the Silverdome, right? And that's how my career started.
Well, gosh, Jack, you and I have had a lot of opportunity to have these stories and to tell the stories. And, really, it's just been an incredible journey for you. How many years were you at the Lansing State
25.
Journal? 25 years.
And then I escaped. It was like Shawshank Redemption.
You bet. And, you pivoted and went into a broadcast career and have been very, very successful with that. And you just recently came back into studio. Haven't you been home for a year now that you just popped back in and started getting back in? And
I do not have the approval from Alex Heward to be in here every day yet. However, in the last 57 weeks, this is the third time I've been in this studio, twice to do the show, the last 2 weeks on Tuesday, and to see you.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here. And, I want to give a big special shout out to our wonderful producer for both of us, Alex Heward. He is the best, and he's sitting over there behind the glass with a great big smile on his face.
I like him so much that I'm going to introduce him to the president and the people who really run this place.
Yeah, you should do that. That's a good idea. I think he's earned that opportunity. Yeah. So make sure you put Jeff and Suzanne Heward at the top of the list.
I will do that.
A good introduction. Let's talk a little bit about some of the best interviews you've had.
Ooh.
And I know that we're going to probably have to go into a segment 2 here in a couple minutes. But tell me a little bit about the best interviews. And for you, I suspect that they're a little unique.
Yeah, maybe. Probably. I would say so. I've had a chance to cover just about everything you could except the Masters. That's the one thing that I've never gotten to do. It's a bucket list thing, and I'll get there at some point. But, Super Bowls, national championship games, 17 Final Fours, NBA, Stanley Cup Finals. I've had a chance to do all those things, international competitions. So I've been fortunate that way, but I've had a chance to spend quality time with some people, Henry Aaron, Jack Nicklaus. I was inside the ropes walking 18 holes with Tiger Woods. But probably my favorite was Muhammad Ali. And this is a crazy story. If you have 90 seconds, I'll try to speed this up. So Michigan State is winning the national championship in 2000, right? But before that, it's fall of 99, and Michigan State's playing Notre Dame in football on the road. So Izzo, big football fan, right? He's got to be at this game. So he gets a special parking pass, and he drives right up to the stadium and gets out. And there's a limo next to him, dark glass, can't see who's in it or anything. All of a sudden, woman gets out, and she says, "Hey, Coach, you'd like to meet the champ?" And Tom is the champ. Champ, I know, is Muhammad Ali. And sure enough, back door opens, and he very slowly gets out. And Tom is just dumbstruck. And he says, I'm so glad to meet you. And his wife says, we're big Michigan State fans. And our son, Assad, is like a crazy Michigan State fan. So Tom says, hey, if you ever want to come to a game, just call the office. Let us know, please. We'd be happy to have you there and, take care of you. So Ali didn't forget this. And Michigan State wins the national title, and it's Assad's birthday party. He's going to be 11 years old, right? And this kid can have anything in the world. Muhammad Ali's kid. And so Ali says, son, what would you like for your birthday party? He said, I want to have a party with all the kids in the school coming over and everything, and I want to have the Michigan State basketball team there. So during this season, they had said, well, let's go to a game. So they called, and sure enough, Clarence Underwood escorts them around. He comes out at halftime. The place went absolutely bananas, right? Muhammad Ali there. He does magic tricks for the team. So now they called the basketball office, and they said, can we get the entire team to come? So Izzo said, absolutely. I don't know how we're going to do it. We'll do it. So he gets buses. I think it was Dean Transportation, and they show up in Berrien Springs at the Ali farm, the compound, right? And I'd found out about this. Izzo said something, and Bob Every had mentioned something to him. Do you hear about
oh, yeah.
So I said, well, you know what? I have to cover this. I mean, I'm covering this for sporting news. This is a big deal, right? It'd be a great story. So I said to Tom, do you mind if I tag around? He said, no, that'd be good. Go, you know. So I called. I got a number. I called, and I talked to Lonnie, Muhammad's wife, and I said, look, hey, I'm interested in doing something. I'm a longtime friend of Izzo. I cover the program. I would love to come and just be a fly on the wall. And she said, well, why don't you come a little early? Spend some time with the champ. Don't have to ask me twice, right? So I said, I'd be happy to be there. They were going to be there at 11. I was going to be there at 9:30. She said, I just have to ask you one favor. I said, anything you like. She said, autographs. I said, don't worry. The last thing I would do, really, I mean, would be ask Muhammad to sign an autograph. That was, first of all, it's unprofessional. Second of all, I wouldn't have. She said, no, you don't understand. He has Parkinson's now, and no one ever asks him for an autograph, and he misses that.
Oh.
So I'm like, listen, I've got all these programs from the Thrilla and Manila and the Rumble and the Jungle, and I've got them all. So I says, no problem. So I show up, and I said, would you mind, before they get here, just signing a couple of autographs for me? And he smiles and starts to sign his name. It takes him about 30 seconds to sign Muhammad Ali. And he signs it very legibly and gives them back to me. And then we're talking about a couple of things. And he can not express himself the way that you think. So the team's a little bit late, right? And all the kids are getting on Assad. They're like, hey, yeah, I thought you said the Michigan State basketball team was going to be here, big guy. Yeah. And he said, they'll be here. Sure enough, they turn into the driveway, and you see the buses come down, and he starts sprinting across this field. They'd put in a basketball court for the day.
Wow.
Okay? They'd put in a court. And he said, I got Charlie Bell on my team. They go, they meet the bus. It's a fabulous day, right? So we're just about ready to leave. They had nice lunch, had dinner. They decided that they were going to show the team the boxing area where all of his trophies and things, they have a ring in there, right? So Ali gets up in the ring, and he motions Izzo to get in the ring with him. And Tom's like, no, I can't do that. Ali's just, come on. Gets up in the ring, and he's telling Tom to hit him,
In front of the guys.
Yeah, throw a punch. And Tom's like, no. He says, throw a punch. And so Tom goes to throw a punch. Ali just ducks, and he throws it and ducks. And, he could have thrown 20 punches. He couldn't have hit him. And it's just like that part of it kicks in for him. That's the last thing to leave, that muscle memory of that. And so all of a sudden, Ali launches about 10 punches at Izzo and stops each one, just like a Hollywood punch, an inch in front of his face. And Tom is like cowered between the ropes. His head's outside the rope, and he's never been touched. And the players were hooting on him like, good. Players play, tough players win. I can see how tough you are, coach. Yeah. So now they leave, right? And I'm getting ready to go. And Ali says, you don't have to go. Okay, that sounds good to me. So I'm there till 9 o'clock at night, and he does all his magic tricks, and it was maybe the most fun day I've had in 45 years of doing this.
Wow. You just don't know what the journey is going to be like.
Yeah.
And, the power behind people and how real they are really, too. You've got someone who is so incredibly famous and how kind and generous they can be.
He was all that and more.
Let's talk a little bit about kindness with Jack Ebling. And I know that last week I had an opportunity to listen into your program, and you brought on Audrey Dahlgren. And Audrey is the sports director over at WLNS, and she's got a new program on this radio network, the Audrey Dahlgren Show.
If I don't talk faster, she's going to be in here.
She probably will, but she just... For you to have her on and to talk about that and to be so supportive of her in this new venture, tell me a little bit about the Jack Ebling giving back part of you now.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Right? It's pay it forward. The thing that I am probably proudest of anything I've done, pride is a dangerous thing.
Yes.
But I now have 81 people who I've helped mentor who have gone on to careers in communications. So, I'm going to be dust in a couple of years, but they will live on and hopefully make it a better place.
Yeah, Jack, gosh, I agree. I feel the same way. I get so much fulfillment out of helping other people and watching their careers and lifting them up. And I see it with women right now, too. I mean, there's this movement of women getting into these male-dominated roles. You see it in the NFL, coaching. You see it reffing. Yeah. You see team ownership. And I just wanted to give you a big pat on the back for doing that and having Audrey in and making her feel comfortable and giving her a little platform.
Well, she's trying really hard, and she's in a male-dominated profession of sportscasting. Hey, there are women who've made it and have done great things. We've even seen it around here. But in terms of what she's up against, sportscasting and writing is one thing where people think they know more than you do. It's not like brain surgery or something where, nobody's going to tell you how to do it. Nobody's going to try to tell the dentist how to fill a cavity, right? But in sportscasting, the fans think they know more than you do, and a lot of times they do. Just the dangerous part. So she has to deal with that, and she has to deal with the historical part. She's in her 20s. There are guys who remember Duffy Doherty. She doesn't. Funny story about that. I'm walking to Spartan Stadium 2 years ago, right? And I parked outside by Izzo's office. So I'm walking in front of Munn. And there's a group of college students walking in front of me. And the young woman says to her date, so who's this Duffy Doherty guy? And the guy wants to seem real smart. And she says, you know what? He donated a lot of money to the university. But if you say something and you're on the air and you mispronounce a name, they're brutal. Waiting for you, right?
Just brutal.
So I want to help her through that.
Yeah. You know what? Al, we're going to come back. We're going to do a segment 2 here in just a few minutes. Let's take a break. We'll wind this down. Jack, you know how I feel. You and I are good buddies, and we've enjoyed a great relationship. And I'm going to have you come back on. We're going to talk a little bit more about the career, about broadcast journalism versus print journalism. And then I want to also ask you about your lifelong lessons and your advice for people. I want to thank my guest, Jack Ebling, for joining me this morning. I also want to thank my supporting sponsors, Marketing Resource Group, Governmental Consultant Services, Dowding Industries, the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, AF Group, AT&T, and the Fraser Law Firm. You can listen to all my podcasts at connectwithkb.com. Until we connect again, go live your best life. I'm your host, Kristen Belzer.